What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers are off to a terrible start, right? They're 0-4, just look like an absolute mess. They can't win with or without Russell Westbrook. A lot of people thought Russell Westbrook was the problem, and it turns out he's not just the problem. He's part of the problem. He is part of the issue, fit, things like that. But a lot of people want to see just the Lakers blow it up, right? A lot of people are like, look, season's over, trade everybody, let's hit the reset button, let's restart this whole thing. What I want to talk about is it even possible, let alone would it even be worth it at this point, right? Now, right off the bat, LeBron James cannot be traded this year. Based on when he signed that new extension, he can't be traded at any point this season because the time that he would technically be eligible to be traded is after the trade deadline. So he wouldn't be able to be traded this season. Now, they could trade Anthony Davis, they could trade Russell Westbrook, but at this point, you're not going to get fair value for Anthony Davis. LeBron James isn't going to want Anthony Davis to be traded. I do think that the Lakers still have quality pieces around Anthony Davis and LeBron James. They just don't have enough to be good enough to be effective. And what I mean is that if the Lakers had more starter quality players, the guys that are playing in that starting role now don't have to be the starters and can relegate to the bench unit. So the pressure, all like the need for them to step up the way that we need them to step up, all of that stuff becomes irrelevant. So we go from like a mediocre team to all of a sudden a deep team, right? Imagine guys like Walker coming off the bench and providing that 15-point a game scoring punch off the bench. You know, Patrick Beverley coming off the bench. Kendrick Nunn. I do think sooner or later he's going to right the ship there. I think he's too talented, too good of a player. He gets better. Schroeder. Like all of a sudden, the 4 or 5 guys that we have that can contribute and that are contributing, just not in the level that we need them to. Well, now those guys can just contribute the way that they are, and we can put some wins on the board. Because that's the problem. Right now, outside of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, who they're not playing great right now either. Like nobody is, right? LeBron's all over the place. LeBron's turning the ball over every 10 seconds. You know, Anthony Davis is still injured and just, he's not looking dominant as we need him to be. Russell Westbrook is a terrible fit. No, LeBron James is too busy crying to the refs than getting back on defense when you're getting back into a game, taking terrible shots. Just his selection is just terrible in general. This team is an absolute mess. But we do have some bright spots, such as the defense, right? The defense is great, right? We're a top 2-3 defense. We're number 2 in overall defensive efficiency. This team is really good defensively. Now, imagine if we could add some wing players and we could add some talent around these guys to make them even better. That's the big problem. We don't have the starter level talent on this team. We have a bunch of guys that would be really great in bench roles, but they're not good enough to be the key cogs on a team and the starting unit. And so I don't think that the Lakers need, nor can they, blow it up, right? Again, can't trade LeBron James. So if you can't trade LeBron James this year, why would you trade Anthony Davis? LeBron isn't going to be happy. You know, at least if you can maybe make some minor adjustments and deals, maybe you can make the team better to where Anthony Davis and LeBron James may be able to carry the load, right? Maybe it's a simple fix like just bringing Russ off the bench, right? Starting your starters that you did against Denver and then having Russ kind of run the bench unit. Now, will Russ be happy about that? Probably not, but you got to do something, and it's not about him, right? He's got to buy in. He doesn't really have a choice because he's trying to play for a new contract. He's trying to play for a new team, you know, until you could find a viable trade. But what I do think needs to happen is I do think the Lakers need to look at a Russell Westbrook trade. Because again, as I was saying with the players, imagine if you got like the Charlotte Hornets deal. Like, right, let's say you get, Kelly Oubre, Washington, and, Terry Rozier or Gordon Hayward. Or let's say you get Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, and Terry Rozier. Well, now you got 3 guys that are starter caliber guys that can now be in the starting unit with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You got shooting. You got defense. I mean, you're already a top defense. Imagine if you had some real wing-style players that could play, size, which is a big problem, right? Well, now you solve that issue. Well, now guys like Walker and Patrick Beverley, Dennis Schroeder, Damian Jones, Thomas Bryant when he comes back, all of these guys, Kendrick Nunn. Now all these guys, we don't need them to play these starter roles and contribute in starter level production. Right now, we just need them to perform the way that they've been performing from the bench. And so now we go from a team that's just terrible in disarray to just a team that actually can compete. And I also think that the Lakers having some fresh blood would be hugely beneficial, right? Like the problem is that like the Lakers just have this cloud over them. They can't shoot the ball. They're an absolute mess. Like nobody looks good. Nobody, right? And so I think having somebody come in or several players come in that are sort of wet behind the ears in the form of like the Lakers and just everything going on with them, that are excited, that are fresh, that are, weren't involved in just like all of the turmoil during the offseason and during the beginning of the season, now get to come in and it's like a fresh start. And that could add a new light, a new fire into everybody. And I still believe if a lot of these guys start seeing the ball go in the hoop, I really think a lot of these guys can turn it around. We're not a 20% three-point shooting team just based on guys' average. Sooner or later, guys are going to average out. Problem is that like how long will that take? How long will that be? But if a guy starts knocking down shots, that raises the confidence for everyone else. Now everyone else starts contributing. Right now, everyone's kind of in their own head. So that's why I think a trade or adjustment would be hugely beneficial to the Lakers, because if they can get some guys that come in and start knocking down some shots, then guys like Kendrick Nunn and Patrick Beverley and Walker and guys like that start going, okay, like, all right, like, okay, cool. The ball does go in the hoop. The ball isn't the size of a nickel, or, or the hoop isn't the size of a nickel. It's actually big enough for the ball to go into, like it just changes the perspective. Not just that, but new blood, new chemistry, new everything. And yes, there's the concern, speaking of chemistry, right? Like how will this team mesh? How this team will gel? But yes, you're losing the lack of training camp. You're losing the lack of, an off season to prepare and train, but you're not bringing in stars that are trying to make it work. You're bringing in role guys that are going to come in and understand their role. And chemistry can be built rather quickly. Like take the bubble team, for example, right? The bubble team, it's not like that team was together for several years. Like all those guys were new acquisitions, right? We just traded for Anthony Davis. We got all of these new acquisitions for the most part. Like there were some guys, but we were integrating a new superstar, all that stuff. I don't think the chemistry is going to be as big of an issue. I don't think the issue is that. I just think this team needs a new sort of light and a new just kind of spark. And I do think that they can turn around. The problem is one or two guys isn't going to do that. Like, I don't think Buddy Hield and Miles Turner by themselves are going to come in and change the fates of the Lakers, right? I mean, Buddy Hield, don't get me wrong, Buddy Hield shooting like 42% from three this season. That would help. But we need several guys that can do that, right? Again, we need several starter level players, not just one or two, right? We need several guys that can knock down shots and not have to rely on Matt Ryan to hopefully turn into a Duncan Robinson for us, right? We need guys that can come in. And if that's what I'm saying, if we could do like the Spurs deal or the Hornets deal, or a deal along those lines to where we get several quality pieces that can come in and make an impact, be starter level talent, and kind of right the ship a little bit, I think a lot of guys are going to be able to then move into their more natural roles of being, fifth, sixth, seventh dairy style players rather than second or third or fourth options, right? Because that's the problem. Like Walker shouldn't be your third best player, but right now he's playing like he's the Lakers' third best player. Walker should be your, fifth best player, right? Like that was why you got him, like a guy that is capable of, giving you great production, but you need more than you need somebody that's better than Walker to come in. And Walker's been great. He's playing great on both sides of the ball. Can't really shoot, but that was kind of expected when he came in. But he's been great defensively. He's really great at creating shots for himself and getting to the hoop. Like he would be great off the bench. Like a starting five of like Schroeder, Beverly, Walker, or Schroeder, Reeves, Walker, and then have, a winning Gabriel and a Thomas Bryant, or Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant. You could go big, something like that. Like, that would be great for the Lakers. That would turn things around a lot, because now you don't need those guys to give you 20 points a night, or 5 of them to give you, 10 to 15 a night. Otherwise, you lose the game. You only need them to come in and collectively give you like 20 or 30 points. You just give me 20 or 30 points off the bench between everybody. And if Walker can maintain that 15 points a game off the bench stuff, now it just changes the scope of your team. And now you got starter level guys. Like, imagine a, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis starting 5. That is night and day better than the team that we have right now. And now all of the guys that are in the starting 5 all get to go to the bench and now give us bench production rather than starter production. And, our bench scoring is terrible. Our shooting is terrible. Our rebounding is terrible. But getting some good, sizable wins will help in that department, especially for team rebounding. I think also the Lakers should look at, like a Hassan Whiteside, somebody like that you can bring in, and at least he can give you at least rebounding and shot blocking, right? I do think Thomas Bryant, when he gets back, is really going to help. I do think he's going to help because he's just a big body that can, rebound, block shots, spread the floor. And I do think Schroeder, when he comes back, is really going to help also. A guy that, especially if he can play like he did in Germany. But if you can work out a deal, especially if Schroeder can come in and be Schroeder, like the Germany Schroeder, right? Then now maybe you don't need a Terry Rozier, so maybe you're looking at the Spurs deal, or maybe you're trying to get an Oubre, Hayward, and PJ Washington to where you're getting 3 wings, right? And then unloading some guys, waving some guys, maybe bringing in a Whiteside and kind of just revamp the roster. Like, that's what the Lakers really need. The Lakers don't need to blow it up. Like, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are still showing that they're good enough to, if they have the right pieces around them, to win some games. Like, I still think the Lakers should be 3-1 or at worst 2-2 if we had some just quality production from everybody else. But every night, it's just 3 guys. We saw in game 1, it was Russ, LeBron, and AD. Then it was like Walker, LeBron, and AD. Then it was Walker, LeBron, and AD, or Russ, LeBron, and AD. It can't just be 3 guys, LeBron and AD, and then either Russ or Walker every night alternating. Not going to win that way. Just not. And so if we get an entirely new facelift, then now this team has a different identity, a different, vibe, a different everything, different culture in many ways, like everything. And I think that could really change a lot. But again, I don't think you need to trade Anthony Davis. I don't think you need to trade LeBron James. You can't trade LeBron. Even if you wanted to trade LeBron, you can't trade LeBron. Even if LeBron wanted you to trade him, you can't trade LeBron, right? And then AD, you're not going to get the value for AD that you would get otherwise, because again, he's got nagging injuries right now, and he's not performing to the level that people want him to. So you're basically you're trading AD for peanuts on the dollar, like literally. And on top of that, you don't have your draft pick. The Pelicans have your draft pick. So the only solution is to try to turn it around. And I think the only way to turn it around is Russell Westbrook, because at least Russell Westbrook is a big enough salary to field you several guys, which the Lakers need. Whether you're working out a 3-team deal, like we've heard reports that the Lakers have been trying to explore 3 and maybe even 4-team deals. Like, if that could happen, like if you could mix the Spurs and the Pacers trade, or like the Spurs and the Hornets trade, or whatever, and just kind of get the best pieces from all of them, then that's perfect, right? Like, now you're looking good. But that's the only way. Like, they need to find a trade for Russell Westbrook, and I don't think that they can wait 20 games until after Thanksgiving like they want to. If we're 2-18 or 5-15, your season's over. Like, even if you do a facelift, you're probably not winning 23 straight games to get you back over 500, or 15 straight games to get you back over 500. I think, we're already 0-4, and our schedule doesn't get any. We could realistically end up being 0-8, and maybe even 0-10. The way that teams like Utah are playing, and even Sacramento. Sacramento's, I think Sacramento's going to be a tough out, and they love to show up against the Lakers. It's just we need to do something. I don't think we can wait. In the same breath, like anytime you do anything panicky, it usually leads to poor results. And I don't think the Lakers. I think the Lakers are in a rock and a hard place, right? Because no matter what, you're kind of in this lose situation, right? And I've talked about that. You're with that with Russ, but you're with that regardless, like right. The one thing that yesterday's game showed improved was that we are not good enough to send Russell Westbrook home, which is something that I've been preaching since day one. The Lakers can't afford to send Russ home. Like, as bad of a fit as he is, he's still a guy capable of giving you 20 points in any given night. And I know some people are going to say, oh, he can't do that. Like, he averaged 18 a game last season. He put up 19 in game one. He's capable of giving you 20. There's not another person on this roster that can give you 20 points or 18 points night in and night out consistently. If you put Russ in a position, I don't know why they play Russ and LeBron as much as they have been. I think they need to get back to either bring Russ off the bench or, have him operate as the sixth man and let him go get his points. I almost feel at this point they're almost better off just letting Russ go be Russ. Like, give Russ like 15 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game to just go be Russell Westbrook. Because we need something right now. And I think your goal is to just try to weather the storm until you can find a deal that's proper. And there might not even be a deal on the table. Outside of the Pacers deal, how many teams are trying to make a trade right now? Like maybe Utah, because they're like, we're trying to tank and we're not tanking, but outside of that, like, who's really trying to make a deal, 4 games into the season? Unless it's a deal that's just too good to be true. And if that's the case, then the Lakers probably shouldn't do that deal. So it's a tough spot to be in. But no, the answer isn't to just blow it up, isn't to just trade everybody. Again, they can't trade everybody even if they wanted to. They got to try to figure it out. They got to try to at least weather the storm until they can find a deal, or just pull the trigger on a deal and get it over with. Do a deal, get it over with, and just be done. But like I say time and time again, the grass isn't always greener, and things can get worse. It's better to have one bad year than several bad years. So if you're doing a deal and the deal doesn't work, you're screwed. You're screwed. Because that's the team you have for the next, 3-4 years at least. So, again, things to keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think they should blow it up? Do you think no, just trade Russ? However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below.